John Adeleke, who's your dad, right? First of all, he was my late father's extremely close friend.
Yeah.
And he was a very unique Nigerian. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I know about him. Of course, he's being your dad. He was a lot older than me. I was young.
Yeah.
But the earliest things I remember is like, first of all, always smiling. Yeah. Always laughing. He had these cheekbones, you know, and he'd be wearing his what we used to call the French. What's that French suit? The French suit that the French wear. That's how he used to dress all the time. You know, he had the blue one and the white one and the grey one, and he literally used to wear the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
And the man what's very interesting is that for a man who was so innovative and so ahead of the time, because I'm thinking about Lagoon City, I'm thinking about the World Teleport Organization, I'm thinking about the World Trade Center. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Before 1981, right? I think he invested like £8 million of his own money to reclaim all the land that became Morocco, that became Banana Island, that became Lekki Phase 1. I mean, if you look back at that land now, that land is worth billions of dollars. This is one man, by the way. Yeah, this is before 1987. He's already done all of this. He spent that money before 1982. So already what you have is the insecurity of those in government at the time couldn't deal with an entrepreneur at his level. And therefore they came after him and they took the asset. But such is life that I believe there will be restitution, because that case is still in court and we're still watching. And those who know the story know the story. But that's just on the business side. I think as a visionary, World Trade Center, for the World Trade Center in New York to have an African on the board since 1981 is enough. I mean, that says enough. What else? What else does anybody want to say about it, right? Now, when I think about all of that, and I think about where Lagos is today, for many years, Lagos State tried to do his projects, but they can't do it. You know, you can't steal a man's vision. It's impossible, right? So I'm not even saying they try to steal his vision, but you know how it is. We've sat here in Lagos, and you can ask any Lagosian. They keep hearing, oh, Lagos wants to do this project, wants to do that project. And me, I know where the project came from. I know where the original idea came from. The original IP is his. Lagoon City encapsulated every single thing that anybody ever wanted to do in this city. Yeah. From drive-in cinemas to foreshore development, from the lagoon to the ocean side, from the fast food restaurants to Formula One to Disneyland to entertainment areas, he had it all in. Yeah. And Lagoon City was a new town development. And I think about it now, and I know the kind of developments that people are doing, and that window in Lekki is a window that has probably seen about $20 billion of development in the last decade, right? So when you think about it, you know that he was seeing way ahead. I mean, he was seeing like 30 years ahead. And a lot of guys don't see that. You know, I call it the helicopter view. You know, when you're standing on the ground level, all we see are the guys here. But if you go up here, you suddenly find out that this place is not that populated. That actually all that land over there is empty. And the one over there is empty too. But when we're standing here, it looks like there's traffic. But some people have the vision to see beyond the traffic. And that was your dad. He was real. He was down to earth. He had already wielded enormous power and wealth. But he was a common man. I mean, your dad was more comfortable eating granota and bananas and strolling and talking with the ladies on the street. We went to see Awolowo. Awolowo was literally the leader of the Yorubas, right? We went to see him the day after, not to see him, to see his wife, his widow, the day after he died. We arrived at the house the same time as Ojukwu, who was the man who led the Biafran revolution. And Ojukwu made a famous statement that day that, Awo, the greatest president Nigeria never had. So, some may say, some may not say. But what I remember that day was Awolowo's wife receiving us as family, receiving your dad next to her as family. Because, unbeknownst to 99% of people there, I don't even know if you guys know, there was a way in which your father had empowered Awolowo. Because when your father was securing his land, yeah, how he had met Jakonde before Jakonde became governor of Lagos, right? Awolowo was his lawyer. Do you understand? So your dad had about 300 properties in Victoria Island and did a transaction where to secure it, and then Awo was the lawyer, and Awo got paid with some land. That Didiolu Estates. I don't know all the details, you have to ask your brother, but these are things that happen. And that's part of the reason why Jakonde knew about your father's foreshore developments before he became governor. And unfortunately, the minute he became governor, his first action is to take the stuff. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's like, this guy can't have all this stuff. I mean, it's as simple as that. How can one man have all this stuff? And that's ridiculous. What you've basically gone and done is kill innovation. He raised that money from somewhere. Nobody gave him the money. He raised it. He raised risk capital. He got out there. He had this idea. He reclaimed the land. All this reclamation being done around here, he's the first guy. Before the Dutch came and did anything, it's him. So I think that, you know, I was always praying that World Trade Center towers would get built, yeah, in Lagos. And it'll be the Adeleke Towers. Because that's what it should be. Because at the end of the day, it's really in his name, in his respect. Because no matter what anybody says, John can't say it. John is his son. But I can say it. I'm old enough to remember. And we know, and the thing is, most people don't want to, you know how it is, we don't want to acknowledge. We don't like to give it up. It's part of the Nigerian problem. And it's because of this, because of that. No. It was power.
Power, okay.
It's power. You see, the exercise of raw power can lead to corrupt decisions, right? So it wasn't particularly corruption of like any endemic corruption in Nigeria. It was more like, you know, your dad is an entrepreneur and he took a risk. And that risk was probably a considered risk, having secured the developmental permits from MPA. But knowing full well, I know your dad, I mean, he probably knew full well that these guys might try. But hey, I've got legal cover, so I boxed them out, right? All that happened is in the days of military government, it's very hard to box them out. So I think it's more about that kind of suasion than corruption. But that suasion is also more difficult to deal with than corruption in the sense of it's not anybody sitting there signing something that's corrupting the process, but executive authority. When you have executive authority and power, and you can take a decision that's going to affect you that is corrupt in a different sense. And that's definitely what happened. Because if they were taking it based purely on the legal issues and purely on the investment and the intention, then there should never ever have been that decision. In the worst case scenario, there must be compensation for the investment made and some land. You cannot just take everything and not return something. So that in itself is a problem. The guy, I mean, as far as I remember, your dad is the guy who calls himself king and queen of Banana Island till today was your father's security.
Are you serious?
Yes. When he reclaimed the place, he put the guy there with his wife. He said, okay, you guys be staying here as my security. So now they call themselves they're the community king, like the Oba, you understand, the Ballet. But there's dad, ask John, they're your dad's security. Marocco, same thing. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know how your life would be different. He knows he's here. Because if he had Marocco, he had this shit. The Onirus have been sitting here. All this strip here is Oniru. It's the same thing. This is the Oniru strip. If you guys had this strip, this Oniru strip is worth billions to these guys. I know them very well. They're friends of mine. So I think that is, and to me, that restitution must have come. You know, it's crazy to me to think that I've become an adult. I mean, I'm 50 this year, right? And this thing is still not resolved. And I'm going back, it was already an issue before 87. So that is a problem. The denied and delayed justice is, justice delayed is justice denied. That's something that is a legal maxim, and I think that is a core problem in the Nigerian situation. That really is a core problem. So, he affected everything here and everything about how we live, but we don't really know that in Lagos. Lagos people don't know that. So in telling that story, that's a great way to tell the story and to get the attention of Nigerians. Yes, it's controversial from some people's perspective, but it's truth. I don't care about the controversy, it's the fact. Yeah? And I think what you're doing in telling his story as part of your story is critical. Because for you to really know your story, you need to know his story. And when you understand his story and his journey, I think it becomes clear that he was an incredible guy till now, right? I won't lie to you. You know, I was in university when he died. I was speechless. I couldn't understand it. That he walked across to see. He must have been walking either from my dad's house or to my dad's house. Because where they live in Norman Williams, dad's on the Sumbo Jibu, it's literally it's a 100-meter stroll. And every evening these guys were together. And all I heard was that